Hello my friends. Today one of the things that we want to accomplish on the cabin is to fill in the gaps on the gable ends just above the principal rafters and below the common rafters, which is going to take some work because we have to custom fit each piece of wood around the ridge pull at the top, the purlins and the eave logs. So there's going to be some precision fitting involved, and at this point I'm not sure exactly how we're going to make that happen, but it's going to be interesting. Anyway, before we get to that, I need to run out now to grab the newest piece of equipment that we're going to be adding to the team. It's an ATV and I'm really excited to be picking it up. It took 4 months to come in just because there's an ATV shortage. But anyway, it's in. I'm going to bring it in and I want to talk a bit about it, but more importantly, why we've chosen to get an ATV now. It's not by any means going to replace the tractor that we've been using all these years. That's irreplaceable and we love that old Massey Ferguson. But we found that at this point it's beneficial for us to have an ATV as well. Now, although they are two totally different pieces of equipment, the thing about them is that they often overlap each other in their usability, and for anybody who's considering getting into an off-grid lifestyle or working out in the bush, it's nice to know what the strengths of a tractor are and what the strengths of an ATV are. Of course it seems apparent, but there's some nuances between the two that I like to cover. Anyway, I'm going to hit the road and get the ATV, bring it in, and then we can talk a little bit more. I'm just taking a moment to check the trail cam before we continue on, and it looks like there's an interesting video that was taken last night. Well, that's a nice buck. He's an 8-pointer. Oh, he's got his friend too. Yeah, that's a 10-pointer. Wow, that's awesome. Oh, and the 8-pointer was a little skittish, so he ran off. Obviously, he noticed the infrared light on the camera. The 10-point is a little more curious about it. But anyway, those two bucks have been on this property for years. They're obviously best buds. They travel together, and it's good to see that they're in good health. Well, they've continued on, and so am I. So we're going to jump on the four-wheeler and head back to the cabin site.
I'd like to thank EcoFlow for sponsoring this episode. EcoFlow has developed power stations that are portable, clean, solar compatible, and quiet. EcoFlow can provide huge power capacity to keep your home devices fully charged during power outages and emergencies. Take the Delta Pro for example, which has a 3600 watt-hour capacity, and with the addition of 2 extra batteries, it can be expanded to over 10,000 watt-hours. Meaning it can run almost all heavy-duty devices like an air conditioner, fridge, freezer, and smaller devices like a microwave, TV, and router. The power station that I use is the Delta Max, which has over 2,000 watt-hours of power. I've added an extra battery to my setup as well, so we have plenty of power to spare. In fact, all the power tools that we use in this episode have been powered by the Delta Max. Like all their power stations, the Delta Max comes with multiple outlets of varying kinds, allowing you to charge up to 15 devices at once. One of the features I love most about EcoFlow products is they have this really cool app which I use to control and monitor this power station from, which is great news for us because we have this stored out in a snowmobile camper and we work from the cabin, which is about 50 feet away. EcoFlow power stations can be charged in several different ways: standard AC, 12-volt car outlet, or solar. The Delta Pro and Delta Max are great additions to your toolbox, whether for outdoor, indoor, or travel use. Head to my link in the description to visit EcoFlow's crowdfunding site, where you can back these awesome products. From the outset of our log cabin build, we've needed an ATV. Not only to get us to the build site, only accessible through a network of rough and rocky trails, but also to work for us while we're there. Hauling supplies, scouting trees, and skidding logs. Throw in a winch, plus a tow-behind log skidder, and we'd have an ATV that could just about do any job we needed it to. Just about, but not everything. For example, an ATV wouldn't have been able to drag the 9 boulders we used for the foundation, some of which were located over a kilometer from the build site. An ATV also wouldn't have been able to skid as many logs as we did with the tractor. And as useful as they are, ATVs can't lift heavy loads like a tractor can. Eventually, we would also need to haul large amounts of roofing steel and mortar mix to the cabin site, weighing in at almost 1 ton per load, well beyond the towing capacity of an ATV. So this was our dilemma at the beginning of the build. Do we buy an ATV capable of doing most jobs, but not all? Or do we buy a tractor, which can haul, lift, or drag anything, but at the cost of being rough and slow along the trails? The easy answer would have been to just buy both, but we only had enough money at the time to buy something used, either a tractor or an ATV. So we chose the tortoise over the hare. Better to have a slow and steady tractor than a fast and agile ATV with a blown engine. So for $2,000 Canadian, approximately $1,500 US at the time, we purchased a 1951 Massey Ferguson 35. Since then, we've come a long way on the cabin. We've also had time to save for a good ATV, ultimately choosing to go with the Honda Rubicon. Now, just so you know, this video is not sponsored by Honda. It isn't sponsored by Massey Ferguson either, so there you go. Anyway, after covering many a rocky mile on the old Massey without suspension or power steering, I'm sure our backs will thank us for getting the ATV. Now both machines can stick to what they do best. The Massey for heavy lifting, and the Rubicon for commuting on the trails. But why did I get a Honda Rubicon specifically? Well, it's because I needed a good work ATV, as opposed to a weekend toy, and I felt that Honda fit the bill. They may not be known for their buttery smooth handling, like a Polaris, or their raw power, like a Can-Am. They are known, however, for their dependability and durability, both excellent characteristics to have in the bush. They even come with a pull start, so if the ignition fails or the battery is dead, the Rubicon is still able to run. Plus, Hondas are one of the last ATV brands out there to use a geared transmission, as opposed to being belt-driven. Although this makes the Hondas a little more clunky to shift, it also makes them more dependable and durable, at least in my thinking. I also really appreciate that the Rubicon has 4-wheel drive with locking diffs. Anyway, the Honda has more features that I like, but those are the distinguishing ones. Now it's time to focus our attention on fitting the gable pieces in. We found that the easiest way to make a pattern was to start with a piece of cardboard.
And mark the top of the pattern too, just so we don't make the same mistake again.
Top of the pattern, like the top's this spiky bit.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I'll put a T on it though.
Once we knew that the pieces were a good fit, we removed the top ones to make a couple gable vents in them. The vents will need to be screened in, but we'll leave it there for now. Until next time, my friends, stay safe, be well, and God bless.